world in 10 years. So this is basically your personal science fiction, so to speak. Now, if the science fiction is done, oops, sorry. You go to this centerpiece, and it's literally a centerpiece. Sorry. This is where you develop your business model, because you will want to know how do you sell. How do you sell your product? How you deliver it? What kind of contracts do you want to offer your customers? How do you service it? How you support it? All these kind of questions. Now here comes something where about 15 years ago the world radically changed in the tech business. And this is equally important to understand. This was around after the bubble burst in, the internet bubble burst around 2000. This was the first time when we talked about disruptive business models, and this was the moment when business model development became so much more important, at least in the States and Silicon Valley, than anywhere else. Because we realized that the business model is the actual driver for success. Technology can be built in any way or shape. We can find engineers anywhere in the world to build something outstanding. But at least today, still today, 2019, we cannot easily find people saying, oh yeah, I'll develop a disruptive business model for you. And so, when we look at Salesforce.com, Salesforce.com built a customer relationship management system, CRM. And basically a copy of Siebel, where the founder of Salesforce were actually starting his own business. So Mark Benioff said, we can do better, but we will have a very different delivery model. It's still CRM, it's still entering customers, it's still all the same. But the way we deliver this is very different. We deliver it through the web, through the browser, and it wasn't really a technical innovation, because whether you design a screen in on an on-premise application or on a browser is not that difficult. I mean, it's not that different. But the delivery model in general, no implementation anymore. You don't have the IT team approve it and then install it on their system and all these kind of things. That made it all the difference. And these types of business models dominated the following 15 years. And so this, again, centerpiece here is about your business model. And you're probably further down the road, but the biggest recommendation is, before this is not solid, again, don't even write a single line of code. Because once the business model is designed and ready, without the product in place, you have all the mental freedom to design it the way you want. And the code or the prototype, if it's hardware, should implement the way you structure your business model into the product. And we did that with Blue Roads in a very interesting way. Because we designed the business model actually in parallel to the actual product development, because that was 2001. But we realized something is going on in this world that is of utmost importance, and we started in parallel working on the business model development, and then together with the engineers who needed to rip code apart in order to implement the business model thinking into the application. And the biggest difference was, for instance, a reward system. So the users get rewards for whatever they do. And the business model was about, in our case, lead generation and lead distribution. And we said we want to become not only yet another lead management system, but we had actually methods around lead management that were unique. And we wanted these unique methods part of the business model, which was kind of weird in the first moment. But we said we want to have lead pick rate as a KPI for our customers. And so our business model was then that the pricing was based on lead pick rate. The code, obviously, it was software, needed to have the lead pick rate as a prominent part of the database design, of the application, of the UI, needed to show, it needed to be easily retrievable, and so forth. And that was one of the things where we, at the end of the day, outperformed two competitors who were before us in the market, who had far more money than we had. It was the single biggest obstacle that we had. They had, the one had 62 or 68, the other 72, bless you, $1 million in the bank from pre-bubble fundraising, and we were barely having 1 million. And the investors say, yeah, actually, you cannot outperform two existing competitors with 68 or 72 million cash in the bank with your 1 million, even if you raise another round of 2 million, you know, this is a joke. But we sooner or later convinced the investors that our business model will make all the difference, and they will not have the time nor even the knowledge to make a change. 5 years later, we did acquire one of them, and in the due diligence, we found out that we won literally every single deal against them. So the company was basically dead, so we didn't even buy them. And the other was purchased by somebody else. So the business model was the exclusive, basically, weapon in this fight for us for market share. And we realized that it's not just us. I mean, pretty much everybody else did it that way. Airbnb is purely a business model play. Facebook today is purely a business model play. And so this is of key importance. And this is when, in our accelerator, for instance, we probably spend most of the time to help the startups develop their business model, ideally disruptive, and actually then, if the product already exists, model the product around the business model, because it makes so much strength in the offering to the customer at the end of the day that you become a leader through the business model, including in the product. So, next step, once you have your business model, you basically develop your product, your go-to-market strategy, all these things in the next 4 months. And you can develop any product in the world in 4 months. If you, and only if you, reduce the functionality to the max. And you know this term, I guess, MVP, minimum viable product. Is this a known term?
Yes.
Yes, cool. The name says it all. Minimum viable product. Minimum means the bare bone, I mean literally the bare bone minimum that this thing kind of works. Viable, I mean it at least clicks, it does something, and it is a product. Everything else is gravy. And what the typical engineer does, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's just the wrong time, tries to build all the other features into this in order to compete with the competition. And the problem is that the engineer and the business user, left, right brain thing, are different. The actual first customer is overwhelmed with a 10 or 20 feature product. Not only that's not necessary, it's actually becoming negative if it's too much. If you have only one feature and say, the only thing that does is it clicks forward. And if I hold long, then it clicks backward. But this is already over-engineered because I can find my pointer, I can turn it off, and I can do another couple things. Now this part is well known, so people use this, I mean, instantaneously, nobody needs to tell me what to do with it. But if this would be the first product, well, people say, you know what, I don't know, can you click forward, backward? This is the typical behavior. So try to be ultra simple, one feature only. And this is something, again, we're teaching over and over and over again, one feature only. And if you would be in the accelerator, if you would have more than one, we would ask you to take it away, lock it back, comment out the code, and then come back with a one feature only product, and you can put everything back in. You will need new stuff anyway, so that's cool. But do that not in the first place. And then in the 6th month, you can launch. And I bet a lot that we can do this with every single company. I mean, in the beginning I was careful because I didn't believe that it's always working. But after our Yamo experience with that food company, where I was doubting myself that this is possible, and it worked out, I realized it is working. And these numbers are not out of the air. This is a serious and realistic number. 0 to 6 months in the market. Now, what happened in all the companies that we accompanied with, and probably in all the other companies too, but this is where we have the experience. When you and your team realize that you can do something that you thought takes 2 years, and you're at 6 months in the market instead, there is a pride going through the team, rightfully, that they did something extraordinary. Now go back to the number which I started with, 90% of the startups die. These companies will not die. I mean, if you got to that point, there is so much energy already behind it. These companies will not die. So therefore, expensive, important. So takeaway, product development timeline, monitor it. I mean, every week. Sit down with your team, you know, how is this progressing? Are we in time? Not? Why? And here comes the leader again. If they can't make it within the timeline, be very clear. They have to adapt. They have to get it done in the committed timeline. And there is no, well, the dog ate my source code, or, you know, whatever. It's very critical. And monitor your go-to-market timeline, because that's what you develop. This was the 4th step. And when you go to market, monitor it, and monitor your traction. And here comes one thing that we'll talk about after the break. 1% traction per day. 1% growth of whatever is your KPI. It may be number of users or revenue. 1% every single day. And it's another thing which seems first easy, then too hard, and then impossible when you look at the curve. But it works, and I, like many others, we did it too. Okay, so before we go to vision development, I think we take a little break.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You're the boss.
Mình nghỉ giải lao 10 phút các chị ha. Giờ quay trở lại